The death of Kenya's former Prime Minister Raila Odinga at the age of 80 at a hospital in India this morning. Bring into the conversation Professor David Monda, who is with City University in New York. Good to have you on the program, sir, on the SABC. So President Ruto, in his tribute today, used words like beacon of courage as well as father of Kenya's democracy in the tribute to Odinga. Is that an accurate summary, do you think, of his contribution to life and especially politics in Kenya?
I think that's an accurate contribution, especially since we should also remember that his father was the first vice president of the independent Kenya, Jaramogi Oginga. And, Odinga has been steadfast even since the late 70s into the 80s and 90s in fighting for an expansion of the democratic space. With the multi-party politics that was introduced, he was very effective in agitating for, broader political space and for a more vibrant multi-party system. So he definitely contributed, on that end.
And if the man's contribution, Professor, to democracy in Kenya was so impressive, so vast, why is it then that he had 5 failed bids for the presidency? Why could he not get that campaign over the line despite this apparent popularity?
So there's a range of reasons for that. I think in many of the cases, the opposition was divided and the votes, at several stages, depending on the election. If you look at the 97 election, there was a divided opposition. Of course, he supported President Kibaki, who eventually went on to win the 2002 elections. But if you look at the other elections after that, there was either divided opposition or the one that most people think he won that was stolen from him was the 2007 election. And as you know, that led to a lot of violence and into a coalition government. So he, for a range of reasons, whether it's systemic, whether it's, the deep state of the government not wanting to relinquish power, or whether it was just a contestation of different factions within the opposition, he was not just quite able to get it over the line. But his contribution therein is in advancing the voice of the opposition, even though towards the end, the Gen Zs were very frustrated with him for not standing with the opposition and joining the government, against the Gen Zs in 2024. And currently being in the government right now with President William Ruto.
You mentioned 2007, a very dark time, referred to in modern history as possibly the biggest test to democracy in Kenya, when over 1,000 people were killed in post-election violence after the win by Mwai Kibaki and the loss for Raila Odinga. That's also how he then became the prime minister through a peace agreement, a peace sharing or governance sharing arrangement then that was brokered by the likes of Kofi Annan at the time. A decade later in 2017, a court basically vindicated him, annulling the outcome of the 2017 election. And then he did perhaps the unthinkable for some when he refused to participate in the rerun. Was it a lost opportunity for Odinga? And is he ultimately the president perhaps that Kenyans should have had but never did?
So this is an interesting question because the 2017, disputed elections, the courts annulled the election as not having been transparent, free and fair and have been conducted in a proper manner. But Odinga in 2017, on the rerun, he was in a bit of a dilemma because if he accepted to participate in the election and Uhuru Kenyatta won that election, then he would have lost another election. But at the same time, by boycotting the election, he continued this idea of challenging authority and wanting the electoral playing field to be equal and open for both the opposition and the government. But I must add, one of the challenges with Raila Odinga's legacy has been on 2 fronts. Firstly, that he's always wanted to be in government without taking the responsibilities of government. So you mentioned a whole range of these elections that he lost. he's always either engaged in a handshake or some kind of agreement with the government. And I think looking back, a lot of questions have been asked about whether this has really helped consolidate democracy in Kenya, because it seems that anytime he gets into agreements with the government, it tends to, to coerce the opposition, right? To merge the opposition with the government, and there's then no one to oversight or check the government. So I think that's one of the challenges in terms of democratization and Raila Odinga going forward. He always wanted to be in government without taking the responsibilities of government or being the loyal opposition to the government outside of government.
Professor David Monda, good to talk to you with City University in New York, reflecting on the death of the former Prime Minister of Kenya, Raila Odinga, at 80 at a hospital in India this morning.